Good morning. Wow, we can do better than that. Let's try that again. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's about a 7 out of 10. I'll take it at this time in the conference. I have one big question I want to ask you today, which is, as we've seen all these wind turbines in all the material, all the thing, I've got a question about wind turbines for you to really reflect on and consider at this time of the morning, which is, why can't you improve the efficiency of wind farms by playing country music around them? Why can't you do that? Why can't you do that? It's because they're just really big metal fans.
Oh, right, very good.
It doesn't get any better from there, just to let you know what you've got yourselves into this morning. So, as highlighted, unfortunately, Stephen Armand can't join us today. You've only got half the Stephens, but I promise you I'm going to work twice as hard to get us to the same point, and I will need some of your help as part of this. But we had a beautifully fined double act to go through everything, and now I'm covering both parts. So this is sort of a one-man show of the ICO futures and change work. But
and that's a rhyming couplet, do you realise?
there you go. Yeah. We are, you know, on the stage. We must perform. I was told by someone, it's all right, Stephen, you're very loud, and that's the, you know, that's like the key impact. Not you're very wise, or you've done great work, or you have one. You're very loud. I mean, it's a tangible. I can be proud of that. So. Why am I standing in front of you today? What's my background? How did I end up at the regulator? Well, I've had sort of 4 seasons to my career. I started off as a deep technologist running internet services at scale. Admittedly, this was in the era of dial-up internet, so that possibly dates me not quite to the very prestigious 35 years, but I've been in this game for a while. Then in my second phase, I worked in financial services, particular focus initially on cybersecurity. So I was responsible for protecting an exchange that was transferring about $12 trillion a day through its systems in a highly contested environment. So I know how to deal with interesting threats. And then I moved more into helping deliver privacy programs. So one of the great, this is my first time at the conference, I hope not my last time, but it's my first time at the conference, and one of the most amazing things has been catching up with all the people who worked on the giant program we delivered for one of the world's largest banks around privacy. And that was a really formative moment for me about that intersection of excellent legal advice and guidance, but also pragmatic and practical change. Unfortunately, in my third season, well, it's not unfortunate I became this, but the thing I observed, unfortunately, in my third season as a partner in the Big Four was so many organizations have really effective policies and standards in this area, but very little practical implementation at the coalface. And one of the things I really enjoyed about that program, it's fantastic to see how many people who worked on that have been here this week because they have progressed into leadership positions in this profession, partly, I hope, because we all got to work together and make something real, as well as proper academically and legally designed and relevant. And now I'm in that 4th season of my career. I'm now a regulator. It's quite an unusual change coming from a highly commercial background into the public service sector, but I think it's important for us to succeed as a regulator to have a range of diverse views and both learn and teach from our experiences. So that's why I'm here today. Because I spent so many years in investment banking and consulting, other speakers, I think, have brought fantastic content, and they've assumed that great content gets great engagement. I, of course, from that commercial background, realize you need to be paid to take part. So anyone who asks or answers a question will get a small prize. I will be delivering the prizes through the action of throwing. I am a terrible shot, even when I'm not slightly jittery with adrenaline being on stage. So the other benefit this has is not only the person asking the question needs to pay attention, those around them need to stay on the ball, ready to catch. Now, it's normally at this point someone asks the first question, which is, what are the prizes?
Meanwhile, carry on.
Hang on, was someone almost did it? There we go. Yes, the prizes are small chocolates. Obviously, the decadent collapse of the UK government and the standards that have slipped so far by ties being removed allows us the opportunity to have chocolate for breakfast.
And these are the UK gold reserves, right?
They are.
Hold one up and show people these are the UK gold reserves.
That's it. Yes. And I'm just giving them out. How crazy times are here. Right. And finally, if it wasn't enough that I'm throwing things at you, I'm going to need your help. Without the double act, I need your help. So I'm going to divide the audience into half, right down the middle. And on this side, when I do this, I want you to say law. So let's try it.
Oh, a bit weak. Whoa.
There we go. And this side, what do you think it's going to be?
Less.
It's privacy.
Oh. Privacy. Ah, right.
So we're at the business conference. Okay, we're getting there. New arrivals are very confused, but that's fine. Right. Let's get into the content. So there's several things that we've done as the ICO, and one of the fantastic things about coming in when I did is that much of the work we've done is like a marathon, and I've joined in the final 100-meter sprint to the finish line. So I get to break the tape and take all the credit, so I'm very keen to properly reference those from the ICO in the audience and those online watching for all their fantastic work. But for me, one of the most powerful and impactful things we've done over the last couple of years has been the Children's Code. And I realize not everyone will be aware of this, but one of the constant refrains we get, I get as a regulator, I had it in the session the other way, why aren't you fining people more? Why aren't you fining people more? And that's such a non-innovative winds of change question. You can ask that question, but you have to pay a fine of £10 to a charity to ask that question to me for the rest of the conference. So just bear that in mind. But this is an example where we haven't fined anyone yet. We were able to influence systemic change, not just in the UK, but on many major platforms around the world. So the code is really interesting. It has 15 separate parts. It's a fascinating mix of both very high-level statements like this around best interest of the child, but also very specific ones like geolocation must be turned off by default. It calls out, as we mentioned in the session, the breakout session around consent earlier, it explicitly bans nudge techniques to cause children to share personal data beyond what they wish or to turn off the privacy defaults. So it's one of the first laws, sets of rules that specifically ban some of the behaviors that have been troubling. And what's been really fantastic here, and I want to call them out for it, several of the large platforms have really stepped up. And they've actually taken the concepts behind this, considered it, and taken action. So the set of the code calls for things like the best interest of the child, doesn't specify every part of that. And some of the platforms, as an example, within some of the video sharing, video streaming platforms, they identified that the single thing they could do to best protect children was start imposing bedtimes. And they changed them by age range, but when you hit a certain time of the day, the app changes and it no longer autoplays new videos. It no longer interrupts you with alerts and notifications, because their work showed that one of the best ways to develop full intellect in child is to have them properly get sleep. So this kind of work. Now, it's not done. There's more to do in this space. In terms of regulated, we've analyzed where the highest levels of risk are based on the volume of use, the type of data collected, and the number of children using them. And that means our work is focusing on 3 areas: social media platforms, video streaming platforms, and video gaming platforms. These are the 3 areas where we perceive the biggest kind of areas where children's data is being processed and analyzed. And in these areas, we've been doing research work and audits around this, and have discovered some broad patterns. These aren't on particular organizations, but broadly we've seen in the social media side of things, they're very good at having security measures to reduce risk, particularly physical harm risk. They've still got some work to do about properly understanding the age of children, though we are seeing developments in that space. They're not as good at stopping building profiles based on likes and shares by children, and they have issues with sharing the data more widely with other organizations than would be best practice. When we look at video streaming platforms, they're pretty good at privacy by design and the age verification, and most of them have geolocation correctly off by default for kids. But there's still work to do about making kids' profiles private, about being more transparent in a language and capability that children can actually understand and engage with, and about transparency of parental controls. One of the fascinating things in the bill that isn't always what children protection people believe is that it actually gives children the right to know when they're being surveilled by their parents as part of the parental controls, and in a way that children can engage and understand. And finally, around games platforms, very good at opening with default profiles being private, very good about offering tools to allow users to change their privacy settings and understand that, very good about reporting issues, having simple workflows to report issues, and geolocation is off. Not as great about assessing the age of kids or having their notices and their privacy notice suitable for children. I think many of the audience are lawyers, so I feel comfortable we can pick this fight. So many privacy notices read like they've been written by a lawyer, which is delightful, but isn't actually the purpose of a privacy notice. The privacy notice is for the person using it to understand what is happening, and particularly given the reading age of most adults, they're wildly inappropriate for that. They are spectacularly inappropriate for children engaging with them. So it's well worth thinking about how you convey this information in a way children can actually engage with. We ran a transparency call for champions, and there is a set of examples we publish of the kind of people who are doing this really well. It isn't hard to do this well, but it is a different skill set that most lawyers have to be able to do that. And that's okay. It's all right to ask a friend for help. You need to be there defining the content if you're a lawyer, but how it's presented and engaged with needs other skills and capability. It's not just about understanding. Wow, they're a bit slow this morning. Yeah, there we go. It's not just about understanding the law, it's also about being able to convey it in a way that people engage with. So that's the kind of work I'm most proud of, where we haven't had to use a big stick, we haven't had to waste time and effort doing complex, contested legal issues that then get appealed and dragged out, and then 10 years later we finally win, as we always inevitably do, and then the organizer says, oh, that was back then, we're totally different now, everything's changed. That's not effective. What's effective is steering and changing behavior up front, is having people eliminate the harm before it happens, rather than wait until it's so egregious, so systemic, that action has to be taken.